I was raised to believe that women who took time to do things for themselves, self-care, were selfish. And so I had that limited belief, like rooted deep in my core. And so I didn't take time to do things for myself and to take care of myself and to feed my soul. And what it led to was a lot of discontent, a span of depression, and me not being able to show up as my best self. Because I wasn't taking care of myself, I was taking care of everybody else.
Welcome to Real Talk with the Parenting Blueprint Coaches, where we discuss all aspects of parenting using the foundation of understanding personality dynamics to raise independent, responsible, and resilient children. My name is Karen Wagner, founder of Teaching Our Youth and the Parenting Blueprint. Let's dig right in with today's topic and have some real talk with the Parenting Blueprint Coaches.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Real Talk with the Parenting Blueprint Coaches. I'm Mindy Crean, and I am here this evening with Roseanne Delaney. She's another one of our Parenting Blueprint coaches, and I'm so excited, Roseanne, that you could join the conversation this evening and provide your insights too.
Thanks, Mindy. I'm happy to be here.
You know, I know that we have great conversations when we're on our calls. We have monthly calls with the head of Parenting Blueprint Coaches, our wonderful and fearless leader, Karen Wagner. And so it's just exciting to be able to have this time to talk with the audience, to talk with you, Roseanne, and really go through what the topic is for this evening. So we are going to be talking about personality-based self-care practices. And I remember being a young mom with younger kids, and people would talk about self-care, and I was like, oh, okay. And I just felt like they were like beating a drum that really was for people who it was like a luxury, and it wasn't something that I felt like with 4 kids who were 6 and under at the time. And then, just that 6-year gap from youngest to oldest, it just didn't seem like it was really something that was going to work out in my favor. But I know I needed it. So I don't know what your experiences were, Roseanne, with being able to practice self-care, but I wasn't very good at it. And I'm realizing now that I missed a really great opportunity as my kids were growing, do more to feed my own needs.
Absolutely. I was pretty much in the same boat as you. We had 4 children in a 7-year gap. So just a little bit broader gap than you did. And I was raised to believe that women who took time to do things for themselves, self-care, were selfish. And so I had that limited belief, like rooted deep in my core. And so I didn't take time to do things for myself and to take care of myself and to feed my soul. And what it led to was a lot of discontent, a span of depression, and me not being able to show up as my best self. Because I wasn't taking care of myself, I was taking care of everybody else. And it wasn't until I was 50 before I was able to untangle that idea that self-care is selfish. And what I have learned is that self-care is self-nurturing, taking care of yourself. And it isn't selfish, it's essential. And how I wish that I had had this information when I was a young mom. It would have changed so many situations that happened in our family. And it would have changed how I showed up as a mom as well.
With sharing your story reminds me a lot of my own as well. And it also reminds me of so many other moms now that are friends of mine, and also women that I'm talking to who are now in their mid to late 40s or into their 50s. And they're starting to really process what those years of not taking care of themselves and being self-sacrificing, what that has done. And they're seeing signs and symptoms of all types of things, and they're not really certain then how to handle it. And I know for me personally, one of the things is that I did that to the point of giving so much to other people and not focusing on the signs that I was fatigued, that I sent myself into burnout and into adrenal fatigue. And so it got to the point that I really couldn't get out of bed. And, here I am, a homeschool mom with 4 kids, and and we have all of our activities, and I'm in charge of their education and I wasn't able to do any of it. And that's when, for me, in my journey, when I realized that I needed to slow down a little bit and look at what I was doing. And so I think there's also a misconception too about what self-care is and what does that look like on a day-to-day basis. And I know that for you and I, as we were talking about this and with Karen the other day in our call, that one of the things that we were talking about was that this could look different for each person. And so that's where we were going to talk a bit about what does it look like for each different personality. And there's flexibility in that too, because it's not going to look exactly the same for a particular personality style, but there are going to be similarities in what really feeds their soul, like you said, and is really nurturing. So do you want to lead us into what that might look like in terms of personality? So
Sure.
For a D, what might that look like?
So for a dominant personality, dominants are doers. And so they really recharge when they're doing things. And that might look like, scrubbing the kitchen floor. It might look like gardening or doing a project, tearing a closet apart, or even doing some type of home decor type of projects. They just need to do things. And that really gives them energy. These are energy givers to them, not energy suckers. And those are the types of activities that we're looking for. And so some of those we talked about could be cleaning, gardening, dancing, crafting, and going on a walk. These are all great things for somebody who has a high dominant personality.
As you're saying this and sharing some of these different things, I realize that you're really describing so well my daughter, my oldest daughter. She's she's the mom of my 2 beautiful grandsons. And, one of the things that I often say to her is that she's constantly doing something. And, and so I look at it from my own perspective, and I'm like, oh, you're constantly doing, you need to take a break, you need to rest. And, and what you had said is that that's recharging her batteries because she is doing. And, and probably that's giving her brain a break as well, because it's something that doesn't take a lot of thought to scrub the kitchen floor or, to pull weeds or some of the other things that you mentioned as these self-care activities.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting to me that from your perspective, and the way you see the world and how you're wired, because you're not a high dominant personality, you were watching her and thinking, my goodness, sweet daughter, you need to slow down. Quit doing so much.
Yes.
And that's the whole point behind learning about the personalities, because we all have different personality blends. And now that you understand that she's a dominant personality, and recognizes and moves through this life very differently than you do, you can see, oh, I see what's going on here. And I understand why you need to do. It's giving you energy. It's recharging you. That is how you receive your self-care. And I bet that just is so liberating for you as a mom to have that knowledge.
Absolutely. Even at this stage of the game, because she will be 29 this summer, and and so she goes about those living very differently than I do from that very high D personality that she has. And so as I'm trying to support her, what I'm hearing now is, as I'm really processing this, isn't this amazing? I know she's in a dominant personality, but when we're talking about self-care practices, I'm not supporting her as much as I thought I was, because I wasn't recognizing what she was doing is something that is giving energy to her. So yes, perfect.
Yeah. I know for me, that has changed so much the way I interact and view my children, and really wish that I had been given this information when I was a young mom. It would have been so helpful. But let's move on to the inspiring personality. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So I have a bit of this particular personality, the inspiring personality. And I know that Roseanne, we've talked in the past too, that you're a high I.
Yes, I am.
So your rest and recharge needs, and you can let me know too as I'm going through these, really may look a little bit different than what it might for the other personalities too. So inspiring personalities are social and they thrive on that interaction. They're recharged by being around people and engaging in lively, stimulating conversations. So social events, group activities, networking are all things that bring energy. And so for self-care, then the priorities here look like involving them in social connection and finding enjoyment in the activities. And I see you nodding, so I'm on the right track with this, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. And so finding relaxation in activities like attending parties, going to concerts, spending quality time with friends and family. And so all of this can be expressed creatively through art or music or those other forms of self-expression. All of those are really important for this particular personality style to feel restored, recharged, and ready to do what they do so well, and that's to really engage others.
Yes, you just like nailed me. Right there. An interaction just like what we're having right now is giving me energy. In fact, I'm going to have to do some grounding exercises when we sign off tonight from this because I'm receiving so much energy and it's recharging my batteries. Just like calling up a friend and saying, hey, do you want to go get a soda? Or even attending for work purposes and networking type of situation. That is very much a self-care activity for me, although it's tied to work.
Mm-hmm. Because it's meeting that social need that you have as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I have a playlist on my iPhone called Energy, and it has all of my favorite like upbeat songs. And when I'm feeling low, man, I click on that energy and I'm singing at the top of my lungs and I'm getting some interaction with the artist as I sing with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so not just receiving, because all of us have some reaction to music and it gives us some type of energy. But I also find a social connection between me and the artist as we sing together, even though we're not physically together.
Oh, I love that because I think that you're right. There is so much energy that we can receive. I mean, we're impacted by music, because music has the ability to lift us up. It can make us sad, so we have a very strong connection with music. And so I'm going to throw in some of my neuroscience here for just a moment. And that's really, for each of the different personality types, music can be really important because of what it stimulates in the brain. And those, the dopamine, the serotonin, all of those things can be released. Those neurotransmitters that make us feel good, those happy chemicals in our brain can come from music. So I can see, I love the way that you described, that you're having a connection, you're having a moment with that artist. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Even though I can imagine the artist being like, oh, make her stop singing. But we're having a social connection. And you're right. All the dopamine is dropping. All of the serotonin is dropping. And I'm feeling all those happy, feel good chemicals.
Yeah. I love that. What a wonderful, wonderful way to look at that as well. Yeah. I like that.
And then we have our S. Our high S friends, our supportive friends. I don't know anybody like that. Do you?
No, not at all. So this is me. Yes, I'll admit this is me.
Yeah, Mindy, you are super high supportive. personality. And I love this about you because you're so relational and you care so much about relationships. They mean a lot to you. And so as we go through some of these self-care practices based on a supportive's needs for self-care, just chime in and let us know, oh, that's a good one for me,
Yes.
or things that are working for you. So our supportives, their needs for rest and recharge is things such as having alone time. And, that alone time can look different for every person, or maybe every single time you need to recharge, that alone time might look different. Sometimes it might be like Netflix and a blanket. Other times it might be a book and a warm drink, or it may be just like laying on the couch and closing your eyes, but not really napping. It could be look a lot of different ways, even such as sitting outside, just sitting out on your porch alone by yourself and feeling the breeze and taking in all the smell of the pollen that's happening in your area right now, and listening to the birds or to the cars drive by or the children playing, sitting outside, and then also just like maybe even just like staring and watching the clouds and watching them move and shift and going, oh gosh, I see an owl, or I see a man's face there. Are any of these hitting home for you?
Yes, I'm nodding at all of these because that's very much me. I really do need my alone time, and I can feel my battery draining when there's not a good balance of that. And so alone time does look very different depending on what's going on in the house. So now we are mostly empty nesters, my husband and I. And so, that looks very different. But when I had kids at home, and we have 4 kids, our house was very full. And so it was hard to find a place for me to go to be by myself. And so one of my little escapes would be to go to the bathroom and off the master bedroom. And I would do that because typically that was the last place the kids would look. Now they would look at the downstairs bathroom and then they would make their way, and I could hear them coming up the stairs. And so I knew, that I needed to wrap up my quiet time in the bathroom, and I wasn't really doing anything. Just sometimes I was just sitting, just sitting there and thinking. Or a lot of times I would open up the curtain and just look out the window for a few minutes just to see, nature. And that's been very important to me. And I like it to be quiet at times too. And sometimes I realize, oh, it's really quiet. And because I'm not paying attention to that.
Ah.
Yeah.
One of the things that stood out to me most as you were sharing is that I got the impression that you didn't get a whole lot of time alone in the upstairs bathroom, like in the master bathroom.
No.
Like you only maybe got 3 to 5 minutes alone to yourself while the kids were like, oh, let's go check the downstairs bathroom. Oh, she's not there. Let's go up the stairs and see if she's in the master bath and see where she's at. It wasn't a lot of time, but it was enough to give you some energy so that you could then go back out and show up as a good mom.
Yes. And, the other thing is that I think we have this idea, and especially as a homeschool mom, this is one of those core beliefs that I held on to, was that I always needed to be with my kids. And so I'm not saying that I wasn't with them. We were in the house together, or they might go and play outside. And so that would give me an opportunity to be inside for a little bit, or I would walk down to get the mail. So it's like I would find ways to meet that need. And it wasn't very long. It was just a couple minutes sometimes, but it was exactly what I did need to be able to go back and reset and be ready for the next round of activity, whatever that's been. That's helped me, over the years to know that I can have those little moments and to just be able to recharge.
Yeah. And so 2 really great points I think that you're making. A, it doesn't need to take a lot of time because
Right.
moms are busy. It's just knowing what it is that you need and finding little moments here and there. that can feed you that energy and restore you and recharge you. And then the other thing that came up for me as I was listening to was, you didn't have this information when you were raising your children, but you instinctively knew, I just need a few moments. I just need a few moments. And in those moments, I recharge. And now I have what I need to go out and tackle the next little bit of activities or schooling or whatever was up next. And I think those are two powerful things to know, especially for young moms who are so busy. And people are always touching them and pawing them and needing them to do something. And we don't want to leave them, right? We want to have them around us. That's why we have these children, but we also need a little break, but it doesn't have to be a big production or something that's planned for several hours.
Exactly. And that's such a great point too, because when I was thinking about like the inspiring personality type, or even with the dominant too, with all of the personalities, it doesn't have to be really a long time that these self-care practices take place, because, just like with you, like even being able to connect through a song, how that can lift you and recharge your batteries. And with a dominant, it's like, even if it's just, I have a friend who, one of the things that she would do is that she would go in and she would just rearrange a drawer. And so that was like her way of like of being able to put some structure on things, gave her something to feel good about, productive in some way. And then she came away from that feeling recharged. And so as I'm just thinking about that, I think, she does have a dominant personality. So this is all coming together.
Funny how that works, isn't it?
I know.
So tell us, Mindy, about the needs for cautious personalities and how they can recharge.
Oh, absolutely. So we know our cautious friends are really conscientious as well. So they're detail oriented and they value that accuracy. And so for them, and I have one of these in my home, those self-care practices really involve learning and personal growth. So they may find relaxation in quiet activities like reading, writing. So these are probably going to be, as I'm thinking about it, the people who really take journaling to that level of that I would like to be, but I just don't have the attention span to do it, and problem solving. So this might be someone who likes to do puzzles, or I really get into a good book. Those types of things are really, I don't like Sudoku, but the C that I'm thinking in my home really does, like gaming, those things where they can release some energy that has been building up and, put their focus on this one specific thing. So that detail focus is really, really the key here, whatever it is that they're doing to be able to recharge.
Yes. Yes. I actually am working with a teenage client right now who is a high C. And one of the biggest pain points between him and his mom is the fact that when he comes home from school, he wants to play a video game. Mom wants him to sit down and get his homework done. And helping mom to understand that just like when she comes home from work, she needs to do something to decompress from her day. School is his job. And before he goes into more school, homework, he needs like 30 minutes or maybe an hour, whatever they can agree on and negotiate between each other to do something that's going to help him decompress and give him back some energy so that he can sit down and focus on his homework. And as we were talking and mom started to understand this, things have gone a lot smoother in their home now, because mom understands, okay, he needs to come home and he needs some time to decompress and to recharge. And that means that he gets to play video games for 45 minutes. That's the negotiation that they came to. When that 45 minutes is up, then he moves into homework. And oh my goodness, the mom is a high D. So the directing and correcting from high D mom has really come down because she's understanding that he's not a doer. He's not a come home and just get it back into your homework and just get it done like mom. And the way she's wired is a high D. But that he needs that time to do some video gaming, and then he'll be ready to do the homework. And the conflict is gone.
I was just going to say yes, because there are different expectations as well. So for the mom as a doer, I can see where that would cause like that anxiety to rise because, from her perspective, her son is doing nothing.
Yeah.
And so, and he's just wasting time. But for him, that's valuable time because that's really something that he's enjoying, that he can just focus on that one thing and forget, all of the things that are going on at school, and I really say to the parents here, to our audience as well, that to have that compassion for our kids, because school is a lot. We talk about it. You said it is his job. Well, they're there, sometimes longer than we are in our own jobs. By the time they get up in the morning and they get on the bus or they walk to school, however it is that they get there, and then the first bell to the end of the day. And if they're there for after school activities, those are really long days. And just the amount of energy that it takes, I know as an adult, when I am having to focus that long on learning and, the interactions, I'm exhausted by the end of the day.
Yeah. It's really cool because I know for myself that I thought everybody in the world operated and engaged in the world exactly like I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that other people actually viewed the world differently, and other people had different needs that needed to be met. And once you understand that, for me, it's like somebody took the blinders off and it opened up so many relational opportunities for me to develop deeper and more connecting relationships. Not just that, but healthier relationships. And, I think this is particularly important in this month of May to be talking about this because this is National Mental Health Awareness Month. And it doesn't matter what age you are, mental health is going to sneak its way into your life in some way or another.
Absolutely.
In your life, as you understand through the neuroscience. But if we can understand that our needs may be different than our children's needs or our spouse's needs or a coworker at work or anybody that we have a relationship with, then we can give a whole lot more grace and a whole lot more support when we recognize, they're just taking a few moments to rest, recharge, and reset so that they can now come back as their best self and do what they need to next.
Yes. And I think I'm glad that you brought up that this is Mental Health Awareness Month, because I think that, as we know, with the Surgeon General coming out and saying that teens, our children are in crisis with their mental health, these are really important times for us to be looking at, understanding, what's underlying the behavior, because we can be offended by things that we don't understand. And so recognizing that they are different, that they process things differently, that their needs are different. Just like even now when we were having this conversation, just having the thought, like with my daughter, who, when she was at home, from the time she was very little and through the teenage years, we butted heads quite a bit. As the supportive one, I was like, I'm just trying to be supportive. And I was so interested in having her understand me and where I was coming from, that I wanted to help and she would push me away. And so I was hurt by the behavior. I was offended by it because I didn't realize what was driving it. So
Yes,
that it was
absolutely.
contentious. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's exactly what we do here at
Right.
Parenting by Design. We share this information with parents and with families about each of the different personalities, and not just their self-care needs, but also the needs that they need to have met in their day-to-day life. I know for me as an inspiring personality, I really needed as a child to hear, I love you, to hear that,
Mm.
to have a hug. And my parents were not that way.
Mm.
My mom is a D and my dad is a C. And so they just didn't see the world like I did, and they couldn't understand why I needed to hear that, why I needed to feel that, because for them it was, we provide you a home and all of these activities and you're never hungry. You should know that we love you. But they didn't have the information. They
Right.
didn't know. And so we get to share this. I mean, what a beautiful gift we have to share with parents all of this information so that they can understand that, oh, they're not being bad, or they're not being rude, or they're not dismissing me. They just experience things and see things differently and have different needs than I do. Okay.
Right. Well, and as you said that, I felt like this warmth even in my chest, because I was thinking, doesn't that feel and sound different than so often? It's like, my kid won't talk to me and he's so disrespectful, and some of the things that our families come and talk to us about, and or that we see out and about in the world. And so they're so frustrated, and they're hurting because they don't know how to connect. And so I think that these insights are so powerful and valuable, because we're then giving insights into, how do you really connect? How do you communicate? If you're a high D with a C child, or whatever the combination is, that, it levels the playing field so that everyone in the family can feel valued, seen, and heard.
Yes. Valued, seen, and heard. It's what we all want. It's what we
Absolutely.
all desire and need. And sometimes we just don't know how to do it because we didn't get the playbook.
Right.
They didn't hand us that beautiful baby and the playbook. And Parenting by Design gives you the opportunity to have your own playbook for how to interact and develop those very healthy, securely attached relationships with the people that matter the most.
Hmm. I love that, Roseanne. I couldn't say it any better. And I don't want to even add anything to that, because that was so perfectly said. And I think as we are coming close to the end of our time, I'm just thinking, is there any one parting thought that you would like to leave with our audience tonight?
Yeah, I guess what I would like to leave all of our friends with is that if you're struggling with connecting with your kids, nothing is wrong with you. There's not anything wrong with you. You just need more information. And resourcing is part of self-care. And having a coach for a time is self-care. And so please reach out and ask for one of our Parenting by Design coaches to become part of your team and to help you build your playbook so that you can have those connecting, healthy, secured relationships with your children starting now, because you will find that it is so simple. It's just raising your awareness, figuring out some adaptations in the way that you interact with each individual child, and then applying them. It's that simple. So please don't be embarrassed and don't hesitate. Reach out to one of us.
I love that. And again, Roseanne, you just articulated that so beautifully. And so I will just say, as we are coming to a close, that I really encourage anyone who is listening to this, watching this, to please leave a comment. Let us know maybe what you're struggling with, what you're seeing at home, and how are you taking care of yourself? Become aware, just pay attention, observe. That is so powerful if you could even do that first step, because then the other pieces of it will fall into place. So we thank you so much for listening and joining us. And again, if you have questions, please let us know. You can always leave those in the comments. We will be monitoring that so that we can get back to you. And I know, Roseanne, you had something that a resource that you were speaking of resourcing, that you were going to provide the audience with. And we will put the link to that in the comment section of the program notes below. So, but could you tell our friends what that is?
Yeah, thanks, Mindy. This will be a graphic resource that will detail out the self-care practices based on the DISC personalities and their needs for self-care, so that you have an at-a-glance reference to these self-care needs for each personality. You can hang it on the fridge or download it to your phone, wherever it's convenient, so that you have that with you all of the time. And that's a great way to take that first step and just raise your awareness to what it is that yourself and all of your loved ones are needing for self-care.
Love it. So please take us up on that offer. And again, that will be in the comments. And we so thank you for joining us this evening. Roseanne, thank you for being here and adding your wonderful perspective and your energy. And we will see you again soon. Take care.
Thanks, Mindy.